I think we have all experienced a day where there is a blue sky and we're thinking, it's a bit of a boring day, boring light, no clouds in the sky. But with this trick that I want to show you today, you can get golden light images on almost any given day, and especially on those blue sky days. But it's just a bit of fooling your camera. You have to adjust the camera to get this light. And today I'm going to show you how you can do it, and it's actually very simple, so everyone can do the trick. So let's dive into this video and I will show you what I mean. So I think we have all been in this situation, like this first image, just a beautiful sunset in this case. And this isn't a problem at all when the sun is about the point of sunset. So it's just going over the horizon. So you have no issues with flare. The light is usually pretty good, not boring. But as soon as the sun is going to rise, it's going to create some difficulties. So this is another example of a shot that I took in Denmark. This is already a HDR shot. You can see the sky is a little bit clearer, so the sunlight was a little bit harder. So I took multiple exposures here because it was a very high dynamic range scene, a dark foreground and a very lit up sky. So this was what I said, an HDR or bracketed image, which I stacked together to get a good balance in foreground and background. But as soon as this sun keeps rising, it's going to get more and more difficult to get images without the sky being completely blown out. And it can work if you have a little bit of atmospheric conditions, a little bit of mist or fog, like in this image. But as soon as there's no fog at all and the sun rises, you get images like this, where you can see there is some color on the right side of the image, right over here. But on the side where the sun is rising, you get this huge white spot of a blown out sun. And I personally don't really like that. So the funny thing is that there are a couple of ways to get around this and to keep photographing with some nice light images, even on a blue sky day like this. And you can see it, for example, here. If you stand underneath a couple of trees and put the sun just in a little gap, you can create beautiful sun stars. And this is already an HDR shot, so it's 7 shots blended together. But yeah, it's just a really nice method to put the sun behind something to create this beautiful golden light. And you can see it in the next image, what difference it makes. So you can see here the sun on a bit of a foggy day, but if you put the sun behind a tree, you see that the mood and atmosphere of this image completely changes around. So this is more like a golden light image, and this one is more soft, magenta, purple colors in it. And of course it's all part of what you like most, or what is your own, how do you say that? What you think is best, or what's your taste in photography. But I like them both, let's be sure. But what I want to show you is that you can create this even on a day where there's no fog. So for example, in this next image, there is a little bit of ground fog here underneath these trees, but the sky was completely blue with a little bit of these clouds in it. But when you put the sun behind the trees, you can still create this magical golden atmosphere like in this particular image. And this is also another example. This is in winter time, where I've put the sun behind this tree. It's right over here. And it created, first of all, a beautiful shadow layering here. But because the camera doesn't see the sun, it's going to find a balance in your shot. So what the camera did here, there's a lot of white going on down here. So it balanced out the sky with a little bit of purple, pink, magenta colors. So this isn't the case normally, but the camera sees these colors. The camera thinks it has to adjust its light metering to these colors. And if you would put the sun in a gap, for example, here, that it's very bright in the image, immediately this whole sky here above will be blown out and will be completely white. So that's what we just don't want. This is another example where I just put the sun just behind this tree and it created this magical golden light atmosphere. Would you put the tree underneath here, there wouldn't be any atmosphere. It's completely blown out with a silhouette black tree, and the foreground here will be completely black also. So it's always a good thing to remember that if you want to have some atmospheric golden light images, especially on a summer day like this was about 35 degrees, completely blue skies. But because you put the sun behind something, the camera starts metering different light conditions. And that's what's happening here. And there's a lot of ways you can use this technique and just keep producing nice images even on the hottest, warmest blue sky days in the middle of summer. So let's go back to this image that I've showed you earlier with this blown out sky, because this is a perfect example of how you can use this technique. What you see here is I was standing here with about 20 to 30 other photographers, and they were all here for the Purple Heather, and yeah, it was probably going to be a really nice shot. But there were no clouds in the sky, so we all had to bracket our shots, use HDR techniques to make sure that we're not going to overexpose the sky. We could have used a graduated filter here maybe, because the sky is almost flat, so it might have worked, but I'm not a fan of these filters usually. So at the moment the sunrise was gone, I noticed this fog here in this valley, little bit of atmospheric fog over here, and all the other photographers that were standing next to me just left the scene. They packed their stuff and started walking around, and I thought to myself, let's wait a minute, put on a larger telephoto lens and just zoom in to this particular part down here. And you can see it here that this is the image that I took next. So when I started to zoom into that, you can see that the camera starts metering a completely different scene. And you can see it here. It's the same image, maybe 10 to 15 seconds in between. But because we're leaving the sun out of the frame, you can see it here, it's a little bit, yeah, I don't even know how to say it, but these colors aren't popping that much. But when you leave it out, then the camera starts seeing this light coming in from the side, but it doesn't have the direct light source to use for its metering. So it created this beautiful image with nice colors in it and a nice atmosphere. So it's exactly the same spot as I was in earlier. But then I thought to myself, what if I zoom in even further and wait until the sun is hitting this fog down here in this little valley? So that's what I did. I put on an even larger lens, so I went to the 100 to 400 and I zoomed in to this spot right over here. And it created this beautiful, magical, golden light image that nobody else has seen. I only saw this because I was lasting there and thinking, what would happen? So I was anticipating to the scene that I was watching. And once again, if you zoom out, this light, it isn't there. It's never as golden as this. But when you zoom in, the camera only sees the golden light coming in from the side. So the light metering adjusts to that golden light. And this only works if you leave out the direct light source of your image. So in this case, the sun. So, and if you don't believe me, this scene right over here, it's the exact same spot, but just a different lens zoomed in to that area. But because of that, you get completely different light. And as you can see, the sun was up much further when I took this last golden light shot, because this was just after sunrise. And after that, I started using different lenses. So it's a matter of anticipating, looking at your scene, what can I change in this? But if you have the patience to do this, you can get these beautiful golden light atmospheric images. And it's the same in this case when I was in Tuscany this summer. you can see here, it's quite a boring scene, but the camera metered to this sky up here, which was really, really bright with the sun just popping into the frame up here. But when I zoomed in with a different lens, you can see the camera started metering this golden light that was coming from the sun, but because that light source isn't in the image, it's adjusting and creating this golden atmosphere over your image. And it's the same thing in this image. This is shot from a tower here in the Netherlands. I was just standing up at sunrise. I think this was one of my first YouTube videos that I shot. And you can already see that the foreground light, so the light over here, is getting a little bit flat because the camera is aiming for a balance between the sky and the foreground. So, which is always a little bit difficult. But when I started moving to the left a little bit, so I walked to the left side of the tower here, and I started zooming into the image without putting the sky in it. And you can see that it creates a totally different atmosphere in your image. So this is when that golden light appears. This is the trick that I often use to keep shooting nice atmospheric golden light images. And you can also see it here in one of my recent trips to Belgium. I was standing up here trying to create this frame, but the thing that pulled my attention was this particular tree down here, which was very different in shape from every other tree around it. So once again, I put on the larger telephoto lens and zoomed in, and you can see that the camera started metering different light and started creating this golden light in the image. So all these images are all shot on the auto white balance because I shoot in RAW, so it doesn't really matter what white balance I choose. I always get these flat RAW files when I put them into Lightroom. But yeah, the golden light is just a matter of metering of your camera. It doesn't matter which white balance you use. It's just always there as long as you keep the direct light source out of your image. So this is another example of where I left out the sun. This was shot just after sunrise, and this horse started walking towards me, but the sun was behind the horse. So everything I'm looking at is in the shadows because it's the shadow side of these hills, except for this white horse. And because everything is dark, the camera started metering on this horse, which created this beautiful golden light around it. And it really lit up this particular horse. And you can also use the technique, for example, on this image. This is actually the first time that I ever noticed the technique that I just told you about. This was during a workshop, and I was struggling a bit to get this scene into my frame and the dynamic range when the guy that was giving the workshop told me, just leave out the sun, just focus and zoom into these deers that are walking down there, and this beautiful golden light appeared. And that was the moment when I fell in love with this kind of light, and I just realized I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this in more images, and that's what I started to do. I just started to pay attention to this and creating these images that you just saw before this. And it's just a really simple technique to get the most interesting colors into your image. And of course, there's always a point where the sun is getting up too high and the light is getting too harsh, that even this golden light is disappearing. And this golden light then turns into white light, which isn't as nice as the golden light in front. So that's probably why they call it the golden hour. This technique always works during the golden hour. And if you want to keep shooting after that, just go and look for different subjects. Like in this case, I just went into a forest, and what I always do, I keep my eye on parts that are being lit up by the sun and parts that are not. So you can see this leaf on the left side. So the sun is only hitting this leaf and not the background, which is just a little river floating underneath it. And it created this beautiful separation between the lit up colors and the dark background. And on the image on the right side, you actually see the same. It's just a little pool of water being lit up by a little open space in the canopy, which was hit by the sun. You can still see those open spaces are those white spots in the image. I just really like the composition with those needles and those green plants over here. But this is also an image shot in the middle of the day, where the sun was a little bit on the right side, so it came in from the side. But because I was standing in a little lane, the trees were very high and I was standing right between them watching towards this waterfall. Because there's no sky in it, the camera just searched for a really nice balance of these dark sides here with the bushes that I was looking through towards this light waterfall. And that's always things that I'm looking for. But even on the hardest light days in the middle of the day, like this next image, this is shot in Namibia, just in the middle of the day. So it's never said that you can't take images in the middle of the day. So you just have to adjust your style of photography. So in this case, the sun is straight above us. I think this is about 12 o'clock, so about noon. But I just underexposed the image, and you can still create this nice balance between foreground, midground, and a blue sky. So this isn't even a stack. This is just one shot, and because I underexposed it, I could still get this blue sky into the frame. So that's what I wanted to show you today. Just some tips and tricks to keep shooting, to create some beautiful golden light in your images. And even after the golden hour, how you can handle it. Just go into the forest, go shield for the sun, or underexpose your images. There's always a trick to keep shooting some fantastic images. So I hope you liked this little tips and tricks video. If you did, then don't forget, please push that thumbs up button, and there's also a subscribe button underneath this video. If you push that and select all on the little notification bell that is there, you will get a message when I release my next video. So this Sunday we are going to one of the most famous spots in the Netherlands, and yeah, I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but yeah, people come there from all over the world. So yeah, hopefully some nice images from that. So thanks for watching, hope to see you this Sunday, and bye bye.